Coach, I'm just wondering what your overwhelming sensation is right now. If it's frustration, if it's anger, if it's a sense of missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a number of those. I think frustration and disappointment. Obviously, it's always going to be difficult. Seattle's a very good team. They, regardless of what players they put out there, they're defensively very organized. They put 9-10 behind the ball, so it's always going to be a challenge to break that down. But for me, the disappointment was more how we started the game. The energy I mentioned before. Sometimes when you don't have a real game, you lack a little bit of pop, a little bit of sharpness, and I think that was evident. But more disappointing was just the lack of structure and what we'd worked on the last 5 or 6 days. That was not on display in the first half, and we started the second half a little bit better, a little bit more aware of our positioning and how that would influence the opponent. But the starting point is where we're at and how quickly we can move the ball and now, try to move them. And obviously, you're going to have to pull them out of their block, their low block, and we had some ideas about it. And again, the second half was a better start, but we wasted 45 minutes. And again, there were players on the for us that we needed better performances, more urgency, more quality, and whether or not you're playing against a seasoned pro on the other side or a young player, you have to adhere to that and take that responsibility extremely serious and commit to the speed and the quality that's needed in a professional soccer game.
Great, Mike.
Coach, you had nearly 75% of the possession. I think 736 passes. What are kind of the difficulties when a team sits back and kind of gives you that much of the ball?
Well, I think you're always aware of. Well, the first thing is you gotta try to get beyond their line or at least move pieces along their back line. Whether you're attracting out wing backs and running guys through to pull out their side center backs, but you have to be in position to now circulate, but also the willingness to run through lines. And in the first half, the structure wasn't great. We didn't have that type of movement. We didn't have the ball speed in our circulation either. And again, we didn't do enough to threaten them and put balls in dangerous spots. Maybe a couple chances, but it was quite poor, and that was frustrating. But again, I thought the second half we started a little better, but it had to do with, again, our positioning and our speed of play. And we knew they would bring in some of their more regular players, and then that would provide some challenges. But it was disappointing, and we could have been better. I'll take responsibility. We need to make more adjustments that pay dividends, and within the game that now asks other questions, since what we were working on wasn't bringing what we desired. And some of that's just our execution of it, but also as they just were comfortable being lower. And it's disappointing. Rui Diaz does really well with a very odd chance, but that's what good players do.
Great. John Lupo, you're next.
Thanks, Will. Josh, what would you make of Kikuta's performance tonight? And also, I know you signed a striker from France. Is he any closer to being ready to come into the squad?
I haven't seen Musa yet. We're obviously hoping he gets here quickly and makes it through the quarantine period in a good way, and then we can start certainly introducing him to the group. But I think Kikuta did a decent job. For Kikuta, it's about impactfulness. It's about utilizing a little bit of his individual quality. But he had some moments in the first half. Again, I think on that left side, him and Z got after their wing back, and that could have happened more often. And some of that had to do with, again, the speed of circulation, the repositioning on the weak side. But we didn't do enough to really push them around. And I think, again, the second half was a better start, but we lost the opportunity to do that for 60, 70 minutes. And we only captured that in the first 15, 20 minutes of the second half.
Okay, next we'll go to Chris Bills, followed by Kyle Dalton, Bill West, and then we'll see who's up next. All right, Chris.
Yeah, Josh, you mentioned that the execution wasn't good in the first half, but what were some of those things that you were working on and trying to execute there? And is there anything you feel like as a coach you might have done differently in approach to this match, if knowing now that Seattle was going to put out the lineup that it did and play as
Yeah.
defensive as it did?
Yeah, the lineup is irrelevant. I mean, they play a 5-3-2, a 5-4-1, so you know they're going to have 8-9 guys. I mean, we've watched 7-8 of their games, so it's pretty. We're pretty aware of what their of what it's going to look like. It's for us to now figure out how we can utilize certain players and obviously adjust heights and positioning to, again, attract certain players out, run certain players through, create overloads. I mean, for us, it was about getting some overloads to try to progress on the strong side. And as we recirculate quickly, can we attack the opposite side in a quicker manner and isolate the edge? And along the way, obviously keeping in mind service behind the back line now as you pull apart that back five is going to be there. And again, we did a little bit of that, a little bit better in the second half, but it needs to be there from the get-go, and it's just having an idea, sticking to their roles, and really working that to the bone. And if it's not working, then we make an adjustment. But it was more a lack of consistency in positioning and just the thoughtfulness from the guys, and that was what we talked about after the game. But we'll look at it and see. Again, there's certainly things that for me as a coach we need to see quicker and make adjustments quicker, and I'll need to learn from that because that's my responsibility.
Hey, Josh. So you guys have the second worst offense in the MLS, but you have the sixth best defense as far as scoring concerning those 15 goals. So is your frustration level increased knowing that you have put out pretty solid defensive efforts for much of the season, yet you're unable to capitalize on that?
Yeah, I think it's I think there's that's twofold. I think. Yeah, from a goal scoring standpoint, you're absolutely right. It's been lackluster and poor, and tonight we didn't create enough good chances. But we know against that setup and against that structure, it's going to be challenges. I'd say over the course of the year and the season, 14 games, we've created many more chances that we should have scored on. But the reality is that we haven't scored enough goals, and defensively we've been fairly solid, as far as not giving up goals. But you got to win, you got to score goals to win games. So, we have to continue to work at that, and I've said that enough. But some of it's quality, some of it's getting guys to understand what we're trying to achieve, and some of it's just being more efficient when we have those opportunities. But tonight, it wasn't good enough in any regard.
Go ahead, there, Phil.
Thanks, Will. Hey, Josh, just wanted to ask, so only 2 subs tonight, hindsight being 2020 and all. Would you have made additional subs, or do you feel that you had the squad on there that gave you the best chance?
Yeah, I think we had the squad on there to give us the best chance. We don't have a lot of offensive subs to make, so I think we brought on, what I felt would give us, certainly some opportunities. And I think that's where we're at. We're pretty limited, and that's what we went with.
We've got time for one more from Mike Craven.
Now, Coach, with that being said, is there enough healthy quality on this team to make a real push for the playoffs?
Well, again, we're still missing, some players. Obviously, I think Danny Pereira will help when he comes back in, and when we get a striker, that'll also help. Just having a natural striker that has good understanding. I think Cecilio's, filled a gap up top, but that's not his strong position, and that would get him in a better position, and that would also put Diego in another area, and we'll just have to see what adjustments I think throughout the field we'd be able to make at that point as we have a healthy squad. But we're looking for additional offensive pieces. I've mentioned that before, but getting Musa integrated to the team will be good. Again, I think it'll give us a starting point with a striker, and then I think getting Cecilio in a spot that puts him, he's been a good player, and unfortunately he's playing as a striker. That's not his accustomed position, and he's back to goal a lot, and he's kind of taken the bullet to some degree. But our other 2 strikers were injured, and Manny Perez and Johnny Gallagher have different qualities that they do much better as wide players. And Johnny was working his way back for fitness today, and I think it was challenging. So yeah, we got a lot of things to work on, but some additional offensive players, that would also be helpful.